Yeah, so Hail El Ben Shakar, Isaiah 14:12, that we would know Lucifer, son of the morning, that should be Hail El, son of the morning. That's
Hmm.
probably one of his names, like Michael, ending in EL, like Gabriel, like all angels have an EL. That's Lucifer's the name of the god of the Gnostics, just as the great architect of the universe is that name. In that verse, he tried to raise his own throne up to heaven, to be like God, to overthrow God, but he knew that he couldn't win. He knew how powerful God was, but he wanted to be like God. He wanted to have his own realm away from God, and that's what he was really looking
Mm.
to gain. And up till the time of the resurrection and up till the time that Jesus, while still in the grave in First Peter, went to talk to these spirits that are in the bottomless pit prison and was telling them that your rebellion is over. There's more things to be played out, so all the names of the book of life will be fulfilled, and people have the opportunity to blot their names out or not. All of that is permitted to happen. You're going to the lake of fire at the end of that, and Satan will end up there as well. So he never thought he could win. He just wants to have his own realm. And
Mm.
they would love to have their own realm even today, but they know that that's not going to happen. But they deceive the people to follow them. They deceive their followers that they can win, and that's why you'll see Antichrist try and storm heaven in Daniel 8 to 10 and Revelation 12. It's the same timing, to try and do the same thing Satan tried to do. So yeah, he tried to create something away from God. That was the end goal. And you see that in some of the entertainment, like that was a movie Doctor Strange. You have this evil dark lord of the whole universe, and they're trying to negotiate and rebel to have Earth as the only single place not ruled by the dark lord of the universe. That's the allegory they're talking about. It's their belief system.
Mm.
And the dark lord, of course, is the evil god of the Bible and how they would view the God of the Bible. So if you understand their belief system, they'll reflect that. In belief
So,
system, heaven is located in Sheol, Hades, the other world, whatever you want to call it. Everything flows out of that. It's not above in terms of the firmament heaven or wherever the dimensional heaven that God lives, and the angels dwell. It's not that heaven. It's actually below the earth. That's why all of their models in occultism has it sort of below the earth, but it's in another dimension, and you have to have access that through portals. So if you look at their thelemic tree in terms of that secret society hierarchy that I was talking about, where the Rosicrucians were higher than the Illuminati. Imagine that as a tree trunk. Imagine it as an evergreen. Imagine it, which is representative of immortality. Imagine it as a cedar of Lebanon, a giant tree. And that you have these tree trunk organizations that go up the top. You have Freemasonry at the bottom, first level of depthhood. You have Illuminati, that's just above that. You have the Rosicrucian just above that. You have the Committee of 300 right above the Rosicrucians. Then you have the Council of 33, and then the 13 families. That's the Western thelemic tree. The roots that go down into the earth go down into Hades, and that's the source of their power from their heaven. And so the branches that now intersect into that trunk organization would be answerable to those trunk organizations. And it's just a matter of fitting in, where do the Bilderbergers fit in? Who do they answer to in that trunk? Who do the Jesuits report to? Who do, even on the lower level, like the Lions Club or the Elks Club,
mm.
those low level ones, they would go into Freemasonry. Each of those trunk organizations have a specific agenda and a role.
Mm.
So if you start to understand that now, and that's also known as the world tree, but the world tree is known by that evergreen tree and or a great elm tree, which is orme in French, which is we would understand they're kind of interchangeable in the older world as also oak and also ash. But elm is the preferred version of the occult. And so these two trees grow on Mount Hermon. as and understood as oak in this application in Amos, where it's talking about the Amorites that were like cedars in the oaks of Bashan, of Mount Hermon. The genealogical tree that everybody is familiar with. It's this great wide trunk tree, and it's got all of these umbrella branches going out. It's an umbrella tree. It's an elm tree. And those genealogies that they put on it are the genealogies that they created for themselves with their own imagery for their bloodlines from the original patriarchal Rephaim or Nephilim and Godfather. And again, those roots go down to Hades, where that whole source and power come from. So they are the visible ones that they're showing you in terms of their organizational structure and their genealogies that rule the earth for the invisible ones. And as the divine, as given the authority with the divine right to rule as the royals that come from Mount Hermon, which where the assembly of the gods are located, everything starts to make sense. There could be an avatar effect going on as well, but that seems to be more rare. And if people are, you know, and I talked about it earlier, and I didn't give a biblical example of how we know that might be true. The biblical example for an angel with a symbiotic relationship providing knowledge and power, as with Buddha, as what they'll say the Antichrist or Jesus had as that incarnation. We get that example in the time of the New Testament, in the time of Jesus, with Judas in particular, where he is struggling to go through with the betrayal of Jesus, and Satan enters into him so that he has the strength to do that. That's that avatar. It's a more symbiotic relationship. Demonic relationship tends to be quite vicious, right? Demonic relationship is because, and let me now back up a step, just because you mentioned oikotarian, and I just want to make sure people sort of understand that term. You're referring to Jude 1:6 and 2 Corinthians 5:2. 2 Corinthians 5:2, it's house in heaven. Jude 1:6, it's habitation, where the angels came from in Jude 1:6. Oikotarian means a dwelling place for the spirit. So you need a dwelling place for the spirit in heaven, whatever that means. You have this oikotarian where that spirit dwells within this presence. And we see that spiritual presence as it comes to the earth, but it's not physical. But they need a physical oikotarian, a house, a dwelling place for their spirit on earth. So they leave that into another dwelling place, which becomes the physical body that we talked about, like with the angels in Sodom, so that they can physically interact and they can pass on that DNA when they reproduce. And so we're told in the New Testament that you have a soul, a body, and a spirit. Soul and the body is of this world. The spirit comes from heaven. And as the book of Ecclesiastic talks about, when you die, the soul and the body goes to dust and it sleeps, and your spirit goes back to heaven from where it came. So in the physical world, they need to create an oikotarian, a soul and a body, for a dwelling place for the spirit. Well, a disembodied spirit of a slain giant, that spirit's going to either go to a few locations as we understand it. One is roaming the earth. They can also be in the abyss if they were part of the terrible ones, as Ezekiel 32 talks about. They're in the sides of the abyss, as it's talked about. And so they could also be in what the occult belief is that they had enough knowledge through the rituals to find their way to Hades, their heaven, where their gods are, right? The one's not in the abyss, although the abyss is in Hades, just it's part of Hades. There's two different terms that are being talked about there. The ones that wander the earth are the ones that Jesus was dealing with, including Legion, that they thirst and they're like in dry places, and they need a body to rest and to physically interact. So that's typically a takeover. You let them in because you have to let them in to do that, but that's not symbiotic. There's a suppression of the host and there's a war going on.
Yeah.
You see that manifesting in its behavior and how it looks.